Hello, welcome to Holistically Speaking. I'm Morella Devost, your host. I hope you joined us for the live show that we had on Friday night with Dr. Joshua Green. We had a wonderful show with him, and if you missed it live, we'll be showing it. It'll be airing next week during our regular time, so we hope you have a chance to catch that. Also coming up, we're going to have a show on infant massage, which will be wonderful for all those of you who have babies, infants at home, and learning how to massage your baby for nurturing and for healing. And I'm really looking forward to that show. I'm sure it'll be very instructive. And also, we're going to have a panel on autism. Hopefully you had a chance to watch Autism the Musical. We showed you the first clip on our show a week ago. And if you didn't, we highly recommend that you go online and look it up, Autism the Musical. It's a wonderful real-life story of how they put this musical together with autistic children, and it's really, really wonderful and eye-opening. And on that theme, we're going to have a panel for you in a couple of weeks, so stay tuned for that. But our show today is actually all about hydration. It's just because as the summer was coming up, we had started talking about how much water we're drinking. And, you know, I historically had not been a good water drinker. I just never developed a habit of really drinking water. So I needed to develop some techniques to get me to really stay hydrated. And so I brought some of those for you today, and I'll be sharing with you some of my tips and tricks. And I brought some goodies for you on the table here, which is looking kind of pretty. But hydration, so why is this so important? Why is hydration something that we need to think about so actively for our health? And of course, you've probably heard the the percentage that we're roughly somewhere between 65 to 70 or 65 to 75, or some adults between 50 to 75% water. So the majority of the water in our body is obviously inside our cells, and of course our blood and all of that. You know, we're not very liquid looking. But water, our hydration, our water levels actually decrease as we age. Infants are actually, newborns, they're more like 80% water. So, you know, it drops to about 65 to 70% by age 1. But then as we age, you know, it's some people have described aging as a process of demineralization and gradual dehydration. So, you know, dehydration contributes to, you know, things as simple as skin aging and wrinkles. So if you're dehydrated, you're more likely to get wrinkled more quickly. Cells age more quickly, so, you know, gray hairs and you know, just those simple things are just a little symptom of being chronically dehydrated. But hydration is so much more than that. One of the things that we often don't think about is the fact that we are electrical beings. We are conductive. You know, there's all of our neuron communications, our nerve tissues, and all of our muscle tissue is considered electrical tissue. They're tissues that need to be really well hydrated in order for cell communication to happen effectively. In fact, not only do you need to be well hydrated, you need to be well mineralized. And that's where a key word that I'm sure you've heard before comes in, and I'll talk about it in a little bit. It's electrolytes. Being mineralized is you need to have electrolytes coming into your body through the water and the foods that you eat. And you're seeing there some ways in which you can add electrolytes to your water, and I'm going to tell you about them in a little while. So muscle tissue and neurons need proper hydration to communicate effectively. So when you're starting to be dehydrated, one of the first signs is fatigue. You can't be fully energized, and energy can't move effectively through your body if you're dehydrated. So what happens, a lot of people are chronically fatigued and then resorting to sugary and caffeinated drinks to get them going, to get that perk up, when really what you are is dehydrated. Other thing, in addition to fatigue and accelerated aging and those things that I've mentioned before, there's a book that I'll show you at the end of the show. It's called Your Body's Many Cries for Water. And when you read that book, the author makes some really surprising connections with deteriorating health and chronic conditions and dehydration. So, anything from diabetes to behavior problems and mood problems. So I highly recommend that you check that book out. So let's talk about hydrating effectively and the different sources of water. Some people ask me, should I be having, what's better? Is it bottled water better than tap water, or, what about my well water? So let's talk a little bit about those. Ideally, I like to look at nature and see where ancestrally were people getting their water, and typically we would be drinking water from springs. So some people argue that the best water that you could get is if you could go, up a mountain or into a spring and collect your own water. When most of us, like in my case, living in cities and towns, have municipal water, there are some things to consider that you may want to have removed from your water through a good filter. And there are some of the chemicals that get added to water just to remove bacteria, like either chlorine or chloramine. Burlington city water still has chlorine as kind of the disinfectant in water, but most other municipalities around Burlington have chloramine. And chloramine is a newer chemical. It's actually the combination of chlorine and ammonia. And the reason why some municipalities made that change is because chlorine dissipates, it evaporates from water after a while. Whereas when you combine chlorine with ammonia, it doesn't dissipate, so it's still very much present in your water out of the tap. Of course, there are a lot of concerns. Many people have concerns with both chlorine and chloramine in your water, so I recommend filtering it out. And then there's another chemical in the water which was added for health reasons, but now there's very heated debate as to whether we should really be adding it to our water, and that's fluoride. A lot of different voices speak for and against it, so I'll let you investigate that and do some research on that to come up with your own conclusion, but I'd certainly choose to remove it from my water. So, your regular pitcher water filters don't really remove the chemicals, the chloramine and fluoride. So you need filters that have several layers of different density rocks and minerals that will eliminate those chemicals from your water. So that's an important consideration. Another alternative, which is what I choose to do, is here in Burlington at City Market, you can get reverse osmosis water, which is a very clean water, because some of these filters can be a pretty significant investment. Then you might have well water, so you don't have to think about the chloramine or the fluoride. But even if you have well water, it can be a really good thing to do. Testing your water can be a really good thing to do. It could be a good idea, because you want to know what's in your soils. Sometimes if your well is maybe in the path of a farm runoff, you never know what fertilizers may be getting into your well. So it's always a good idea to have your water tested to see what minerals are there, if there's anything in your water that you may want to filter out. So then finally, obviously, bottled spring water. We're pretty green and holistic here at Holistically Speaking, so we're not fans of all the plastic that we add to the environment with the bottled water. But it can be a pretty handy solution to have. As you can see on the table here, I have all my, several different sizes of glass jars. That's how I choose to carry my water, and I don't have to deal with the plastic, don't have to worry about it. This one over here is a kombucha bottle, and I just, take the label off, and these are just regular mason jars. I think this was like a sauerkraut jar. So I recycle my glass bottles, and that's what I use for carrying my water. And the other thing too with plastic is that a plastic bottle is always going to leach some of those plastic petrochemicals into your water. Especially the last thing you want to do is leave a plastic bottle with water in the sun. The heating of the water definitely activates that plastic into your water, so that's not the water you want to be drinking. So another thing that is a pretty heated debate in the water and hydration world is acid water versus alkaline water. And you'll hear a lot of proponents of alkaline water saying that we should only be drinking alkaline water and we should not be drinking acid water. And there's a lot of debate on both sides. Again, I like to look at nature and look to see, so what's water in nature? If we were getting our water directly from nature, from the spring, what would that be? And some springs are alkaline for sure, and some springs are actually slightly acidic. So the truth is your body does adjust its pH. And to clarify a little bit, if you're not too familiar with this concept of your body's pH or acid or alkaline water, I'm not really a chemist, but all substances in nature are either alkaline or acid or balanced. In the scale is 0 to 14 scale, I believe, and pH balance is a 7. So anything above a 7 is alkaline, and anything below a 7 is acidic. So spring water ranges anywhere from like 5.5 to about 8. So you have both acid water and you have alkaline water. A lot of the proponents of alkaline water drinking say it's because our body's meant to be alkaline and that our blood is meant to be alkaline. And that's true. Our blood is slightly alkaline. It's, I think, just about 7.5 or 7.4. So it's just slightly alkaline. And your body always works very hard to keep that pH level pretty steady. In fact, your body would go into severe crisis if you were to go too alkaline or too acid in your blood. So your body's constantly adjusting your pH levels throughout your body. Whereas, for example, your skin tends to be more acidic. So we're not purely one single pH. Every different tissue, our stomach acid is incredibly acidic. That's a pH of about 2. So whether you're drinking slightly acid or slightly alkaline water is not not really a significant issue. But obviously, it's important if you're getting enough minerals from your foods, then your water is less of an issue. But our modern diet tends to be very acidic. Coffee and sugar and fried foods and lots of protein and even refined grains can have an incredibly acidic effect on your body. So that's also why some people might say that you want to drink more alkaline water instead of acidic water. So again, you can get pH strips and test your water so that you know, but the most important thing is really getting clean, good quality water, and the pH level, in my opinion, isn't necessarily as significant. But you can do some research on that and see what you find. So let's talk about when to drink, how to drink. As I mentioned, I was never one who could stay properly hydrated. I was chronically dehydrated. My lips were constantly peeling. That could be another sign if you're, always needing to apply chapstick. That could be a sign of dehydration. And your body, you only need to lose about 2% of your body water, your moisture, to start feeling thirsty and dehydrated. So it doesn't take a whole lot to get into that dehydration. And we become dehydrated through, stress and, of course, exercising and excess alcohol consumption, as you know. And then, of course, stomach issues, diarrhea or excessive vomiting can make us dehydrated very quickly. And I'll talk about hydration for extreme cases like that in a little while. So the best thing to do to stay properly hydrated is to drink water throughout the day. And most importantly, this doesn't necessarily mean that with your meals. Most people drink their water and their liquid at meal times, and that's actually not the best thing for your digestion. Like I said just a minute ago, your stomach is supposed to be very acidic to help, have really strong digestion and help break those food molecules apart. So when you drink a lot of water, when you're eating, you're going to be diluting your stomach acid a little bit. So drinking lots of liquids with your meals is not the best thing for digestion. But the best thing to do to stay hydrated is to drink throughout the day. And not just a sip or two at a time, because what might happen is you take a sip and then you forget about it. So to get yourself properly hydrated, you need to, take a few sips at a time and use things. Instead of serving yourself a little glass at a time, you can do what I do, which is what I need. I use a big mason jar, like a half-gallon mason jar, or not a half-gallon. Maybe that, but a large enough mason jar so that I have a lot of water in front of me and I can see that I'm either keeping up with my hydration or maybe I'm lagging, so I need to take a little sip. So I'm going to take a sip right now. So having enough water in front of you at all times so that you can, it serves as a cue to drink more and to stay hydrated is a good way to get up there. It certainly is what's worked for me and helped me get back into hydration. So how much water should you be drinking? For a long time we heard 8 glasses a day. And if you think of 8 glasses, usually a glass is about 8 ounces, maybe 10 ounces. That's somewhere between 64 to 80 ounces a day. And I would say that for adults especially, that's kind of the bare minimum. It makes more sense to me to look at what's your body weight. A slender woman who weighs 115 pounds couldn't possibly have the same hydration requirements as a very athletic, robust man of 220 pounds. So I like to think of hydration, and this is a formula that is now pretty popular and kind of you've probably heard about, is taking your body weight and dividing that in half. So let's say you weigh 160 pounds, you divide that in half, and that would be 80. So that 80 is the number of ounces that you want to aim for a day, drinking 80 ounces a day. And for some people, when you do that math, that can be a lot more water than you're drinking right now. And it might be a little bit of a challenge to try to get there. So you're going to need the big jar to keep you going throughout the day. And we were having a conversation about how much water, for kids or adults, how much water do we really need? Is it that number? And I think the formula is helpful to give you direction as to where to aim. But what you'll discover is that when you start to be truly hydrated, you will naturally want more water. You will know thirst better, you will distinguish thirst better, and you'll stay hydrated a lot more effectively. You won't be needing to think about the formula so much. And you'll find that you're likely in that vicinity anyway. One of the things that happens with dehydration is that you lose the sensitivity to the feeling of thirst. And so most people who are dehydrated confuse thirst with hunger. And so they think that they think they're hungry and they go, have something to eat, when in fact it's their body's call for water. So when you get to a point of being fully hydrated, it feels so good to drink water that you just naturally find yourself gravitating to pouring yourself a glass of water, and it's a lot easier to stay hydrated that way. So let's talk about water versus soda versus coffee or tea. It's a question I get all the time. And since you're looking at them right now, I'll show you some of the things that I do to pep up my water and get it a little bit more exciting. This one here is, as you can see, it's just some pretty slices of lemon and lime. And all I did was just slice them up and put them in my jar and poured water over it. And it's a really light, without even having to squeeze it, it's a really light lemon flavor, which makes it very easy to drink. In fact, I had to slow myself down before the show so that you would still be able to see the water with a lemon. This here is some raspberries. So that's another thing. I just popped those in a little while ago, and it'll give it a really light raspberry flavor. If you're into drinking seltzer, flavored seltzer, this is actually a better way to go. And one of the things with seltzer versus water is that adding the carbonation to the water does make it a little bit more acidic. So in fact, some of the carbonated drinks can go as low as 2 in the pH scale, whereas, as I mentioned, your water is typically going to be somewhere between 5.5 and 8. So I would recommend just doing the berries with the water. And this here is just some mint. And mint grows like weeds in most gardens, so you won't have any shortage of that. And I just added the mint into the water, and it gives it a nice little flavor. But if you put this bottle in the sunshine, and of course this is a glass bottle, if you put your bottle of water on your windowsill and you let it get some sun, you'll get sun tea. Those leaves will seep some of their richness into the water, and they'll discolor into the water, so you'll get this really nicely flavored tea-like drink, but it's just water with the essences of the leaves. And you can do that with mint, you can do that with basil is also delicious, and you can experiment with all kinds of different herbs that you like. So, adding these things to, another popular one is cucumbers. They're so mild in flavor that you wouldn't think it would flavor your water, but it just gives us this nice little crispness that feels very refreshing. So it's a great thing to do in the summer, and it just becomes more exciting to drink water that looks pretty too. So let's talk about coffee and tea and soda, because it's a common question that I get. And you actually can find, there's some studies, you can find research that says that you can get some hydration from drinking caffeinated drinks. There is obviously water in there and your body does extract it. So if you're absolutely parched and all you have is a Coke or ginger ale or a cup of tea, you are going to quelch some of that dehydration with any beverage. Is it the best choice? Obviously not. Caffeine is, in fact, the word's escaping me. It dehydrates you because it's a diuretic. So caffeine is a diuretic, and it's going to essentially draw water out of your body. So when caffeine consumption is pretty high, so if you're drinking multiple cups of coffee a day, that's actually going to be contributing more to making you dehydrated than hydrating you. 1 cup of coffee isn't probably going to, be significant, but hopefully you're keeping up your hydration with water throughout the day. And then there's the matter of sugar. So a lot of people don't realize that sugar also has a dehydrating effect, because the higher your blood sugar, and this becomes a problem for people who are becoming diabetic, the higher your blood sugar, your body needs to do something with that blood sugar, and oftentimes when it can't get it out of your bloodstream enough, either by converting it and store it into fat and storing it as fatty deposits, it's going to look to get rid of it quickly through your urine. And so when blood glucose is too high, it's going to make your body expel a lot of your water to get rid of the sugar. And so usually when you have someone who's drinking a lot of sugary drinks and they feel thirsty, they're going to go for more sugary drinks, for more soda. So if all you're drinking is soda, that's definitely, as you know, with the sugar issue, it's definitely not the best thing to do for your health, and it's certainly not the best way to hydrate. And then when you get to the point of significant dehydration or a significant need for quick hydration, let me put it that way. Let's say you were hiking or working, did a vigorous workout. And then even beyond that, when you're sick, you've had, a stomach bug and you've become dehydrated, or if you went partying last night and you're somewhat dehydrated, it manifests in headaches and, weakness. You want to quickly hydrate. And of course, this is when a lot of people will reach for sports drinks. And of course, that the sports drinks have the sugar and the magic word electrolytes. And people say, oh yeah, that you're going to drink a sports drink so that you get the electrolytes to hydrate quicker. So I'm not a fan of sports drinks a lot. A key reason for that is that most of them are made with high fructose corn syrup, which I'm not a fan of. And honestly, because you can make your own sports drink yourself at home by adding lemon and sea salt, minerals to your water. Electrolytes are essentially mineral salts. So take really good quality water, good quality salt, add it to your water, add some lemon, add some maple syrup, and there you go. You have your own homemade sports drink, which will be better than anything else. So I wanted to tell you more about the minerals on the table, but we've run out of time, so we'll have to leave it for another show. This is the book I mentioned, Your Body's Many Cries for Water. You're Not Sick, You're Thirsty. And my website, where you can find many other resources, transformation1.com. You can find recipes and another video that I have on water. So I hope that you found this helpful and that the tips for adding pizzazz to your water will help you stay hydrated. Thank you for joining us today, and I look forward to having you on the show again next week, where we'll be talking about infant massage. Thank you for joining us.